Today I'm going to explain to you how I paint skin tone. I'm going to give you a little introduction, then I'm going to give you a demonstration, and then I'm going to come back and go over some things I did in that demonstration. Now, to paint skin, all you need to do is find the one perfect color for whoever you're painting and just slap it on, just slather it on all over the place. No, that's not what you need to do, but that seems to be, from what I've heard, what so many beginning artists think. The reality is that there is no one perfect flesh color. Everyone has different skin tones. You can see that just by looking around you. And even if you were painting the same person, if you put them under different lighting, you're going to use different colors. What I'm going to be doing is just walking you through me mixing paint and painting the skin of just one person. I'm focusing the camera on my palette now, and I'm going to start by mixing some transparent raw sienna, and then I'm going to mix some orange from Hansa Yellow Light and Quinacridone Red, and mix that into the transparent raw sienna, and we'll see how that looks. Of course, I'm thinning it down with lots of medium because I'm doing a glaze. I think this is too pale, and I'm going to mix some more of my flesh color into the white and go over it with another layer. But before I do that, I just want you to notice that, like I said in my video about Grisaille, you can see the values that I painted in my underpainting showing through the layers of flesh color that I just put on here. I'm darkening my color a bit more, and then I'm going to go back to the canvas with it. And every time I add more paint into a mixture, I also add more medium, so it maintains the same level of transparency. I'm going over this with another layer. I'm not sure why this clip is in here, but I'm mixing color again. There were a couple times I thought my camera was recording. I realized that it wasn't, so there could be some chunks missing from this tutorial. I apologize for that. So I'm putting another layer on, and you know what? I'm not liking this. I think it's too orange. So I'm going to go back to the palette. So what I'm going to do is add blue to this, and as you can see, I overestimated the amount of blue I would need, so now it's too blue. So now I'm actually going to have to add more orange to it. So I'm adding Quinacridone Red and Yellow Light Hansa. And now I think it's too red, so what I'm going to do is mix Hansa Yellow Light and Ultramarine Blue to make green. I'm going to mix that into the color now to bring it back down to neutral, and now I'm going to use this color, which is pretty neutral I think, to paint the body, and then I'm going to put another layer of this on the face so that it looks more even. The point I want to make here is that if you mix the wrong color, you don't have to necessarily throw your paint out and start over. There's almost always a way to fix things, and usually it's by just using the complement of whatever color you added too much of. The reason I'm mixing the Yellow Light Hansa and the Ultramarine Blue instead of using a green out of the two is because, like I said, I'm glazing, so I need everything to be as transparent as possible, and as far as I know, I don't know of any transparent green that comes out of the tube, at least not any that I have. If you know of a transparent green that comes out of the tube, please tell me. So the process of painting skin is often like this. It's look at my reference photo, try to figure out what colors I see, mix the color, put it on the palette, find it's not right, go back and mix again. If you're wondering why I don't test my color before I put it on the canvas, it's because I don't have a testing board or anything that's close enough to the color of my canvas to give me a proper reading. I'm putting some highlights on her skin now, and if you have one of these little fluffy brushes, they're called mop brushes, I have them in all different sizes, to blend out the edges of your shading and your highlights. I really recommend it. It makes a world of difference. If you do this, it makes your shading and highlight look like an actual part of the skin, and not just some stripe. I think I'll have to make a video all about mop brushes one of these days. In the photo, it looks like her arm is reflecting light. I don't know how else to say that, but I really wanted to capture that in the painting because it looked really nice in the photo, and I think adding that highlight on her arm really went a long way toward achieving that. What I'm going to be doing is glazing the quinacridone red and then the yellow Lighthansa all over her face and body. And I think that glazing technique, the technique of putting the yellow and the red on top of the more neutral color, I think that gave me a better result than mixing the yellow and red into the flesh color would have. In another video, I explained that you sometimes have to judge your piece independently from your reference photo, and I had to do that here. And I had to do that here. For example, her face is noticeably darker than her body in the photo, but it didn't look right in my painting, at least to me it didn't, so I went over her face with a thin layer of transparent mixing white to make it look more even with the body. I just want to remind everyone that this tutorial is based on acrylic paints, so if you're working with another medium, particularly oils, I suggest you look for a tutorial based on that because oils dry much slower than acrylics, so you might need to use some different techniques. Now I'm going to be putting gray on her skin, and before I started using gray, I thought if you put gray on someone's face, they'll look sick. But if you do it right, especially people with darker or more tan skin, it doesn't make them look ill or anything, it just makes a nice subtle shadow. And what I'm doing is I'm using the transparent mixing white and the ivory black so it'll be a gray that you can see through. And I'm mixing it with just a little bit of the ultramarine blue. The last thing I want to point out is I told you not to agonize over color choice, but with some things color is more important than with others, and especially a person's skin, it's particularly important. You want it to be close enough that it at least looks like the person you're painting. Okay, so I'm still gonna be working on that, but I think that gives you a basic idea of how I work on this. Now, what you just saw is by no means how I would paint everyone, because like I said, there is no one color that you can paint everyone and have it look realistic. Will it get easier? Yes, it'll get easier. As you paint more similar types of people, you'll start to know what colors you need to mix and what combinations you need and stuff to get the color of their skin. For example, I've painted a lot of Caucasian people, so I'm a lot more familiar with how to mix Caucasian skin tones than I am with how to mix skin tones of people of other ethnicities. But I wanted to start painting people of other ethnicities because I feel like I'm out of practice with that, but that's a whole other topic. I want to reiterate, even if you know how a person's skin should look, you put them under different lighting, the colors will change anyway, so there's always some analyzing and thinking involved. I hope this was helpful. I'm planning to do a lot more of these demonstration tutorial type videos, so if you like that, click here to subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications so you get all these videos sent right to you, and for now, thanks for watching.